Let's talk about outwitting your players at the table. Hello everyone, welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Joining me this evening is my most adorable co-host, Finn, apprentice storyteller uninitiated as yet to any circles of lore. Today we are going to talk about how to go about outwitting your players at the table. Now, there's innumerable situations where this can come up, but I'm talking about outwitting them by finding ways of putting pressure on them and their characters in a way that gets them a little bit more invested in the world, even if they're the kind of player who's looking at things as incredibly pragmatic. They've gone for that classic backstab McNo-parents, that devilish half-elf rogue. You can even find ways to put pressure on that character and that player in a way that makes them have to act or be concerned with what's happening in the world in a way that is probably going to be better at getting them to roleplay. But before we get into all of that, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. Now, let's get rolling into the subject at hand here. So, how would you go about affecting the player characters? How would you go about putting pressure on them, delivering threats that feel more and more credible to them? Well, the players, the adventurers, they're going to be fairly brave, most of them, unless it's like absolutely clear that the target is of a high enough level or threat rating to them that they're like, yeah, we probably don't stand the best chance of beating this person, so we better just fall in line and listen or try to comply or figure out another way around this. But that can get old really fast. If you're always having to put into place a really high-level character that has the mechanical stats and abilities necessary to pose a legitimate threat to the players, and it's not one where they feel like it's more than just their stats and abilities and whatever other capabilities they may have inherent to them. It's as much about the influence and pressure that they project onto the world to influence things in the ways that they want. And that can feel really difficult to put across in many, many ways. But if you have the benefit of some forethought, time, and planning in regards to the kind of opponents that your characters are going up against, then it can be significantly easier and you can kind of generally plan things out. And this is also where having your players develop a thoughtful backstory can be incredibly helpful for you, because not only does it give the characters a little bit more personality, history, help to make the players more invested into the world by letting them have their own slice of it that they've been able to create, but you now have tools that you can use over the course of the game, because let's say you have at least one player in the party whose adventurer has living relatives, whether it's aunts and uncles, grandparents, their actual parents, or siblings, whatever the case may be, they've created some extra NPCs for you. And let's say for our scenario here, they've run afoul of a pretty powerful crime syndicate, not just a guild, but a guild for guilds, like a massive organization, a fairly significant one, even if it doesn't include every single last thieves guild. If they include smuggler rings, they have thieves, they have corrupt merchants, they have town guards, other officials in their pockets, then, this is something much more significant than, at least one thieves guild. This is a banding of multiple thieves guilds and multiple other crime rings and other parts of supply and chain of command that have all come together here to form an altogether different level of criminal organization, hence a syndicate. So, they've run afoul of this organization. Well, because they have living relatives, if they don't take the threats directly personally intimidating, or let's just say if they've been thoughtful about it, weren't sure which way their character would go, and they go, hey, I just want to roll a will save to see if I'm quaking in my boots or not. I can't really make a decision. They roll, and they succeed, and they said, okay, my character, he's not happy, he's unnerved, she's not comfortable with this. But they are holding their ground. They have their spine in place. They're not quaking in their boots. They might be a little unsettled, a little bit concerned, but they are going to stand their ground and make it clear they're going to fight. That kind of nuanced role play, then okay, fantastic. So this character is not intimidated. It's being role played in a reasonable way. They might be a little nervous, even a little scared, but they're going to fight. This will even work with the player, though, who is not thinking about it in terms of that complete and total nuance. Maybe they are. Maybe the character's more complicated, but when it comes to something like this, risking their life, they're not gonna just bow down to a bunch of mooks. They're not gonna just run and tuck tail as soon as danger rears its ugly head. If they're that kind of devil-may-care character, don't have much to live for, or the role player is just doing a kind of facsimile of that, maybe they're not experienced or want to do necessarily different and more nuanced characters, whatever the case may be, however they're having their fun, this method should work, because even if those characters don't have living relatives that they know of, they don't have living relatives that they care about, they still need fences to sell any goods they steal. They need people to buy supplies from, even if they have to go to the black market connections for that. Even if they don't care about those people, if a few examples are made and the character in question is now persona non grata, they're blacklisted, they've been 86 from every last store, shop, or person that was once willing to sell or buy things from them, well, now they're going to have a much harder time making money. Because sure, stealing gold definitely will help, will work, will get you by, but not all wealth is stored in just coin, and not all that coin is going to be readily available or easily transportable, whereas stealing some valuable artifacts, some family heirlooms, some heirlooms rather, or some house banners and things like that, those kinds of personal relics that might have some historical, magical, or personal significance and influence, that gets harder to move on those kinds of markets. And so that poses a significant problem for even those players, where they have to start making some pretty hard choices about how they're going to approach things, because now they're cut off from all of their supplies. They can still fight, they can take the fight to the syndicate, but now they're going to have to take supplies off of them, supplies that they may not always have a chance to actually properly get, that their opponents may abscond with, or even were never there to begin with. It was just some faulty information that they got, maybe purposely, exactly, little one, maybe purposely fed to them to lure them into an ambush. So that presents all kinds of risks and opportunities there. But your players may not expect you to anticipate that move. But if they decide that they are going to fight and that they are going to raid supplies every now and then, those raids could turn into ambushes for those players. Or if they go the opposite direction, though, and decide, okay, what can we do to make peace? What jobs do we have to pull? What do we have to do to de-escalate things and just kind of fall in line for the time being? You know, a cunning maneuver where they lie in wait a little bit. Well, whoever these syndicate bosses or leaders are, you can reasonably expect as a DM, maybe some of them fall for it, maybe some of them don't. It could be the overall boss of the syndicate who falls for it, but they may have captains and lieutenants within their organization who do not. So long as you have that little bit of opposition within the organization that your players may be looking to try to subvert, you have the makings of a perfectly fine adventure, whichever route you decide to go. And this is just like a small taste, a small idea of what could be possible in all the different ways that you can outsmart your players. And this is just by completely mundane means for the most part. There's nothing consisting of magic or some kind of incredible science fiction technology. There are so many other things that could be done with this that would work really well towards helping you come up with reasonable ways that the big bads in your campaigns outsmart your players overall, are able to thwart their efforts despite the obstacles and hurdles that are in place. And if you like today's video, go on down to the comments, let me know, leave a comment. Do you want me to try to come up with more examples, share more things, or do you have proposals and ideas of your own, of situations of, hey, I am not sure how to handle this situation. What's going on? I have like a week, 2 weeks till the next session. Throw me some ideas here of how we could reasonably explain this, and I'll do my best to help you out. And remember, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. This has been my adorable co-host, Finn, apprentice storyteller and uninitiated to any circles of lore yet. But thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.